I first joined the force a few summers back. The police academy was a breeze and I passed with honors. I'd always been in a decent physical condition and had a strong mindset. My instructors were all impressed. Starting on the force, the newbies got the bottom of the barrel shifts, late at night where most of the action were overdoses and security calls for the hospital. The first month, I'd witnessed gang violence and came to terms with some grim parts of our world. I wasn't deterred. I tried to be fair, polite, but still conduct myself with an elevated level of professionalism. In the coming months, we began recovering bodies from a local park trail that truly tested my humanity. The bodies were all fully intact, well, all except for their faces. Each victim had violently pitted eye sockets, necrosis, and pus-filled tissue surrounded the area where their eyes previously laid. We turned the first one over, and I saw it. I got a sick feeling in my stomach as I peered into their rotted head, right through their line of sight. "My God, I can see all the way to the back," the medical examiner said. "Well, let's load him up. I'll spare you the rest of the details of your typical body rotting." It was an afterthought at this point. Our police station was buzzing, federal agents in and out of our workplace, trying to get a handle on the killer we had inhabiting our city. Months passed, all without any promising leads, and the pressure was on. Word had gotten out, and media attention was too much to ignore. "This is all hands on deck," the boss man shouted as we stood and absorbed his briefing. A map was erected that displayed the drop sites and commonalities the FBI had formulated for the best chance of apprehension. My captain, accompanied by a federal agent, began looking at me and conversating. I better tuck in my shirt, I thought, so I hurriedly stuffed the excess of my uniform under my belt as they approached. "Son, how do you feel about doing some undercover work? We need all the capable hands we can get," he said, in an almost father-like tone. The agent chimes in, interrupting my dramatized heroic setup moment. "We need you to play the part of a restaurant patron. All the victims were opportune strikes, so you'll be having dinner at Christian and Jake's Bistro, just outside town." I ponder for a few seconds and say, "Outside town, sir? Why would he go so far out in the city?" The agent pointed towards the map, indicating a drawn pattern that closely resembled a spider web pattern. The last location was the bottom of an X shape that filled the middle. I was given a female partner for the assignment, and was rigged up with all sorts of gadgets and wires. We were being closely monitored and had vans full of officers ready to secure the arrest. I was feeling confident going in, knowing there's an army behind me. It was empowering, and I was eager to finally show my worth and get the recognition. We ate dinner slowly, trying to pace out the investigation, looking subtly for any sign of being watched or observed. We get radioed through our micro earpieces to wrap things up for the night. My partner and I both had been drinking water all night and were busy prepping for our assignment in the hours before. We pay the bill and begin arguing about what happened that night, how she thought I was looking around too obviously, and that we had our big chance and just let the perp get away. I console her in a calm voice, explaining that I was just as frustrated as she was, just to try to calm down the nerves. I suggest that we take a breather in the bathrooms before leaving. If nothing else, we deserved that much relief. I enter the bathroom and head right for the stall. After emptying my bladder, I make my way to the sink where I wash up. A man leaves the bathroom and I hear a flush come from behind me. I suddenly feel my spine tighten and I begin to shake. I remember this feeling from the academy. I was being tased. My muscle tenses up and I'm unable to move. I watch in horror as my arms were zip-tied in front of me, and I feel a blunt object strike the back of my head suddenly. I don't remember much after that, as I quickly regain consciousness and remember a blip of being halfway inside a window. I'm awoken with water hitting my face, where I'm in some sort of X-shaped post that's bolted to the ground. My heart racing rapidly, being combined with the overwhelmingly sore, aching lump on the back of my head. Gagged, and my clothes were full of sweat. I look around at my surroundings, but quickly notice the tubes affixed to my eyes, restricting my view as if peering through toilet paper tubes. I angle my head down and look across the room where my partner is bound as well. We were alone for a good while. I watched her, trying to make sure she was still breathing as I finalized my thoughts and fears about death. I just wanted there to be a chance, a hope to keep living, but I didn't even have that. The door opened. 2 men with suspenders and glasses walked inside, carrying a plastic container that I couldn't make out what was inside. Ungrateful. Both of you are something else, you know that? You. I see a hand strike my partner. You should be very happy you have a husband. Women never appreciate a man's efforts. You give them everything, and they still want to bicker and argue. What, can't get a date? I muffled out through my gag. The other man kicks my groin. I yell out in pain as they laugh. We're just going to take yours instead. Their cold language stung even worse than the kick. I peered through the tubes as they opened the box. It had small plastic caps with something moving inside. I watched as they pulled 2 of them out, displaying them at arm's reach away as they looked closely at her face. Atrax robustus. And to you 2 dummies, that means Sydney funnel web spider. They both snicker as they attach it to the tubes on my partner's head. She struggles, but they pull her head tight in an upward position, securing her head with duct tape. They adjust a flap on the end of the tube, and I see the spiders fall down into the eyes of my partner. My heart was beating so fast, I was about to pass out at the horror I was witnessing, knowing how I was to meet my end. She began flailing in her binds, but was keeping her head still. One of the men yelled, "Oh, don't be shy, they only bite," as he began smacking around the tubes to anger the spiders. The other man injected some kind of concoction into her neck. She started screaming, torturous yells of torment and pain, as loudly and as high-pitched as you could imagine, panicking, pleading words out of her gag. Then she passed out. I hear a crashing sound from behind a wall. The 2 men withdraw pistols and run out of the room. I hear many shots exchanged and closely peer toward my partner, the spiders still moving around the inside of the tubes on her eyes, and her head turning black, either from the solution or the spider venom. I'm not sure which. I began yelling through my gag, hoping for a rescue. Men in black body armor bust in the room and remove my binds. I collapsed to my knees almost immediately, trying to regain normality after what I had just went through. My partner was in intensive care and died from complications of a strengthened spider venom. The event has long passed, but it truly defines how I see the world today. I'm no longer a cop, but I still get a deathly itching feeling whenever I see a spider move on a wall.